Okay, everybody, I'd like to thank everybody for actually coming out today and actually, seeing what it is that we are doing. To actually reach out into the community and with some things that we think that actually has some application in people's lives. Obviously we went through a lot of 2A stuff, and so we're just going to continue to roll through. And like I said, with the things that were handed out to you, things that people want to see. If there's something not on the list, please write something down, because that will give us some idea of where we're going with the next venue. Anyway, how we generally start out, this is an outdoors ministry. So just, if you feel led to, ain't nobody tells you have to bow your head, but that's just kind of the way this thing operates. So anyway, we'll just kind of start off. And Lord, we just thank you for this day. Lord, obviously just a beautiful day to actually do this and kind of get away from the cabin fever. We just ask that, whatever it is that you want to say and do through us today, we just thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen. With the winter survival into things, basically I'm going to share just a few short passages. I ain't here to beat nobody over the head with the Bible, so don't worry about any of that. Psalm 31 is dealing with King David and he used a lot of shelters, obviously running, hiding, things of that nature. Psalm 31, for you, O Lord, my rock, my fortress, for thy name's sake, lead and guide me. 57:1. You shall be in the shadow of thy wings, you shall be my fortress. You kind of get that connectivity going through the Psalms, just like throughout the word of talking about shelter. So then we're just going to lock in, and everything that we teach generally is based out of the word and then its application. Shelter is the highest priority in any survival scenario or modern life. You can always survive without food, water, fire for days. But the lack of basic shelters, you could be looking days, hours, or in extreme conditions. If you decide to go crossing a creek, river, slip and fall, you're wet, you're talking about minutes. So we're looking at, and most people generally die by wrongly prioritizing those elements. Man, I'm cold, I need to build a fire right away. Shelter, the very first thing, your first is clothing. The better, obviously, you layer up clothing wise, the types of things that you wear, as far as your Under Armours, things of that nature, build your different layers. That's where it starts. And in that note, we're actually going to move up on top up here and actually go through some of the basic emergency shelters and the type of things that are going to work fairly fast. We're going to take this line over here because that's the one that's less slickest to get up there, and we'll actually cover, yeah. We'd like to have done everything down here, but our snow started melting too fast to be able to do some of this stuff. So on that note, I would like to bring Kurt up. Kurt's going to also be covering our navigation, just basic map type stuff.
We're getting more and more people every week, and we just appreciate your time and hope that the information that we're sharing with you is good information. My name's Kurt. I'm going to cover some basics regarding map reading and compass use. How many of you know how to use a map? How many of you know how to use a compass? So we got a few. If I miss something or if I misstate something, please let me know. It's pretty simple. Most of you know how to read a road map. When you're out on the road, a highway, even with the nav systems today, I always like to carry a map with me because they aren't reliable. understanding that when you get a map, on the map someplace is going to be a legend. It's going to give you symbols of different things. As an example, I have a couple different Forest Service maps here, and I'll be happy to share with them after we get through. But in the corner of each map, and they're all different in the locations, is going to be a legend which tells you different symbols on the map, highways, mines. This map, I'm going to lay it out and let you try and figure out where we're at once we get all done here. There's mining symbols, road, and it'll tell you different types of roads that are out there, highways, dirt roads, you know, trails. There you go. But a good way, and the other thing to remember is that you want to be able to correlate or set up your map so that you know where north-south is. Because if you get it upside down and start going backwards, it makes it rather difficult. So you can use a map even if you're familiar with an area, and I've been in a situation where I got, sorry, that crinkling getting loud. I got stuck, got myself turned around, and I was very familiar with the area. But it's one of those things, if I had had a map, I wouldn't have got it turned around. If you guys get out in the woods, you don't have a compass, you don't have a map, sit down, don't move around, and I'm going to tell you why. You have a predominant stride. As you're walking, if you're trying to go in a straight line, you're going to end up going off course because your predominant stride is going to take you in a different direction. I've experienced that. Knew where I was at, but I got stuck in some fog while I was out hunting. Instead of waiting for the fog to lift, I started walking. I spent an extra 30 minutes walking because I got going in a curve, an arc to the left. My stride, my right stride is a little bit stronger than my left. So just think about it. The terrain, I thought I was going uphill, I was, but when it started flattening out, I was only about 50 yards from the road, but I couldn't see the road. And I paralleled that road for about 25 minutes. And you think you know where you're going? Stop. Just sit down. Somebody will find you if you can't find your way out. But most importantly, if you got a compass, you can tell where you're going. So if you take off down the hill and you can't see but 15 feet, you know which direction you're going with your compass. Utilize that. So they don't cost much. That doesn't want to open up. This one's actually a little more fancy than some of the others. You've got a light, sign, you've got an optic here you can look through. A line to sight on. You get out someplace, you can actually tell pretty well where you're at. You can use your map to pinpoint your location. If you can identify landmarks, a hill, and you can identify it on your map, a rock outcropping. A topographical map is a good thing to have because it gives you the elevation changes. If you've got nothing marking where you're at as far as your elevation, all you've got is roads and creeks or rivers, doesn't do you a whole lot of good. But a topographical map will give you elevations. You can identify peaks, rock faces, because that topo is going to show the lines really close together and it's going to drop down. You can line up on those. You can take a line and get on your map and just draw a line in a direction you know where you're at. And you can take 2 or 3 of those and it'll give you an approximation where you're going to be at. Those are great. It's a great source to have. Again, if you're familiar with the area, doesn't always mean you're safe. Reading a compass, they're very simple. You can get real complex. Some guys will swear by GPS. If you have a GPS, that's great. That can help you out as well. But the basics are, use your skills. use your knowledge. If you want to learn more, we'll be happy to spend some time with you, teaching you more. I'll go ahead and lay out the map and let you guys look at it and see what we've got. If you guys have any questions.
Without a compass, do you have any tips on how to find what direction is north?
Okay, the sun's a good idea, but if you don't have any sun, it doesn't help. True north? Compass doesn't read true north, it's magnetic north. And there is a variation on, depending on where you're at in the world, how much difference in true north. But as long as you know the general direction to go is north, all of you know, sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So as you can pretty much tell, if sun's to your left, that way it's going to be north. At night, hopefully you aren't moving around at night, but if you need to, how to identify Polaris, which is a true north direction. It never moves in the sky. It's always at the north. And there is no variation there. That's one of the benefits of identifying the stars. Some of us have had a little bit of a background in navigating through using the stars, but I don't recommend that for the average person because you have to learn. There's equipment you need to use. You can get a general idea, but you have to know times, have a table, locations, that type of thing.
Now in some areas where there's a lot of moss on the trees and that, doesn't it grow heaviest on the north?
No. Not around here. I've got moss that grows on the south side of my tree, so I don't recommend using that. That's kind of an old wives' tale.
I always thought it was just heavier.
Not necessarily. Matt, your feedback on that? But
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest myths. You know, I mean, obviously, especially if you're like in Western Oregon, your hemlocks, things like that.
Yeah.
Nutrients tend to hang in the bark of trees. I mean, obviously, prevailing weather coming in, they're going to hang heavier on one side, so that's what gives you that fungus growth. But it does make good fire tinder.
It does.
You know, even if it's wet, you go ahead and gather it or whatever. You can stick it in a bag, knock some holes in it, put it in your pack. Great tinder.
Yeah.
So.
yeah.
I got one for you. If you look at these two trees, they obviously fell from that direction, right? If we know that that's generally north in that direction, that would make this side of the tree the north side, right?
Right.
Look at this moss.
Yeah.
It's grown on the south side.
That's true. I'll be darned.
Yeah. Thanks,
Well, I
Rusty.
clarified that.
Anybody else have any questions?
How do you use a compass exactly?
Exactly. You know, come on over here and I'll show you. So,
Such a deal I got for you.
just basics. So, this compass. So the arrow is going to point to the north. You know that's north, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so east-west. Now, we could get into real detail on how to use this compass so you can set up a direction and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But basically that just tells you north, south, east, west.
Oh.
So you know how to do that.
Yeah.
Most compasses, there are some cheap ones out there and they can go, but don't, you know. A decent compass, you can start at about $10. So,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay.
Batteries never go dead on a compass.
That's right. You're welcome. Anybody else?
I got across the road from where I live, there's a pretty dense trees. I got in there with my quad, and I thought I knew exactly which direction I was going. And after going around a few trees, because I was trying to go in a certain direction, next thing I know, I'm going south, and I think I'm going north. And I came out about and I said, where's the road on one side, railroad tracks another, and I had no idea where I was, you know. And that was only a few minutes away from my house.
Yeah.
walking.
It doesn't, it's not hard to get turned around. It's very easy. Again, my recommendation, if you're not familiar with where you're at, you have no way of navigating, and people know you're out there, sit down. Don't move. It makes it harder for the search and rescue to find you when you're out wandering around. Just sit down.
Everything looks the same.
That's it. That's it.
Also, to let people know you're out there.
That's
That's the biggest thing. Let somebody know where you're going.
There's
My
a lady
dad
in
always
Klamath
taught
Falls
me
years
that,
ago.
you know, if I'm going out deer hunting or something, and I don't know exactly where I'm at, about every fourth step, drag your foot. About that far.
Yep.
That way, if you get all turned around and kabobbled, you can follow the drag marks right back out to where you started.
Years ago in Klamath Falls, there was a lady, she was a substitute school teacher, single, had no relatives with her. She was going to a Christmas party and got lost and ended up on the hill and stuck. And I think she stayed up there for about 3 days waiting for somebody to find her. But nobody knew she was missing.
Yeah, that's the
And she
key.
ultimately walked out.
That's the key, though. Is as long as somebody knows where you're at, that's what's important. So, I can't think of anything else. Like I said, I'll lay these out so you can take a peek at them, so you can see the legend. This one, you're going to find that where we're located, it shows the emblem for a mining pit or a rock pit, but it's right on the edge of the map. This is Fort Rock. This one is for up around John Day. I'm trying to think the forest over.
Vernon,
Yeah, you can get a different idea. They both are topographical maps. This one's not as extensive as this one, but you can see the lines on this. So, yes.
The person who said the one leg on the mountain or hill, what somehow she made something to put a light up in the sky. And then somebody could see it.
In the case of this lady I was telling you about, if she had just either broke a mirror off her car or used something out of her purse and signaled the airplanes going by with a thing, people would have known she was up there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But her idea was head scratching help in the hood of her car.
Oh, man.
but that kind of goes back to our first survival class, and that's using like the reflective blankets,
Yep.
things of that, spotting scope, binoculars, anything that will actually catch light,
Right.
signal for miles. A lot of different ways you can actually cover. I said, if you're in a vehicle. So, and I will cover, some of that, obviously coming from the wilderness hunting standpoint. You're not going to bust a mirror off your
Yeah.
vehicle, when you're chasing
Yeah.
something, but yeah, absolutely.
And if you hunker down and you're able to get a fire started, get yourself a warming fire. If you want, build a second one that's going to smoke like crazy, because that smoke's going to be a key too. So, but first off, you want to make sure you're warm.
And having used signaling mirrors in the past, I ended up buying some, but they're 3x5 signaling mirrors. It was on top of that hill, or you'd see a bright flash,
Yep.
even in the daylight,
Yep.
if it hits the sun. Very distinctive.
Okay. Thank you.